right? People like, what happened here? Friends of mine and friends of my parents and stuff like that will come up to me and say, why didn't we know? And I tried to tell people, they didn't understand. At the time, there was no real way outside of newsletters for letting people know. So I thought I need to do something about this. And we decided to start Real Vision, which is we started long form finance podcasts. What we're doing now didn't exist before Real Vision back in 2014. But also as part of that journey of educating people was I need to look for a solution because this is dangerous. And we work our whole lives for our savings. And if we're going to lose the whole lot, then that's a big problem. So I started to try and create the world's safest bank with a bunch of people. Stupidly hubristic thing to do. I thought, you know what, I could do this. And we got together with a bunch of family offices and hedge fund guys. And we eventually almost bought a bank in Texas. And we had the ex-chairman of the FDIC who regulates the banks, who was going to be the chairman of the bank. We had a good setup. And we went to see, I think it was the Dallas Fed, and said, look, all we want to do is take people's cash and hold it at the Federal Reserve. No lending, no nothing, just super ultra safe. And they said, it's a brilliant idea. It's exactly what the market needs, and you can't do it. Well, what do you mean? They said, well, you'll take all the deposits from the banking system.
Oh, wow.
You can't have a bank that's in Nigeria as it does in New York City. We've never had that before. And so everybody, because it's fractionizable, everybody can put 10% of their paycheck in. So you don't get left behind. Because what was happening, the debasing of currency to pay the debts on after the financial crisis, all the massive debts, we keep rolling them, and it requires more interest payments, and they have to keep debasing the currency. So it makes the assets go up optically. Well, really what's happening is they're devaluing the currency. And so everyone's just getting poorer and poorer without realizing it. And people are getting angrier, and politics are getting more polarized because everyone's blaming each other. It's like, it's their fault. When the fact is, the fault was having too many baby boomers that competed with each other for labor, investments, all of this shit. And so I realized this was the one asset. It's doing 150% a year on average, including drawdowns, massive drawdowns. I'm like, this is it. I mean, this is the one. So I've really tried to explain to people why it's so important to them.
Awesome. Do you kind of see yourself as one specific type of investor or one specific type of trader? Because as we were saying at the top of the show, you see some people who, I don't know, I suppose
in that, which I'm on the foundation of, so just a disclaimer, but it may be Celestia, maybe Monad when it ever comes out, it may be whatever it is, right? There's going to be a group of chosen ones, and those usually do incredibly well. Why? Because they're early in adoption. So I just try and do those asset allocation switches, and then I tend to then hold a smaller bag of, let's say, 10% of stupid shit, which I generally lose money in, which would be meme coins or FOMO and all of the stuff you have to deal with, right? Because you're always sitting here, even the banana zone. People don't realize the banana zone, everybody thinks that everything goes up together. It's not. 90% of the banana zone is you thinking, fuck, why don't I own that token? Why do I own this token? And you get FOMO and jealousy and greed. It's awful. But generally over time, they all ratchet up if you're in, decent stuff. But yeah.
Can you, as I say, I think there's going to be a lot of new folk that come and listen to this. Can you explain the famous banana zone for people that are coming in a little bit cold?
So the banana zone, what I try and do is condense a huge amount of macro research and crypto research into a small meme that people can understand. And really, this is all about the global days. So then what we're saying is, do people do the same thing every cycle? Yeah, we're humans. We just do the same thing, which is like, okay, well, Solana's gone up a lot. What's next? But also the funding cycle of these massive blockchains means that in 2022, 2023, Sui, Celestia, a bunch of these guys raise a lot of capital. They're serious projects, so then they get developers and they do all of their kind of groundwork, building community, all of that. And then what you see is success or initial signs of success. They're still early, so you don't know, but the initial signs of success. And that's what builds momentum, because the more activity on chain, the more the value of the chain goes up. So it's all driven by something called Metcalfe's law. Metcalfe's law has had a value in network. And it's basically the number of users on the network and the total value transacted on the network. So some networks are lopsided. Doge is the most lopsided network of all. Right? There's no on-chain activity. Nothing is built on it yet. Maybe X will be. But really, it's like there's a shit ton of holders. So that has this really weird, skewed Metcalfe's law valuation, but it works. Others, like ETH, have both. Bitcoin has a ton of value transacted because it's a very valuable network. So I look for that and look, trying to stress test our ideas, form communities, do stuff. In the end, we've all done pretty well from being part of this big community. And we can completely destroy the asset management industry by decentralizing it. So there's a lot of ideas that get tested. I mean, the big thing for meme coins for me is something I was involved in from last cycle, which is social tokens. People didn't really understand it yet. Part of it is like intellectual property, brand, and culture doesn't appear on a balance sheet of a company. So it's not really valued. Like Disney, like it's like a $90 billion company. What's the cultural value of Disney? $1 trillion? $2 trillion?
Yeah.
But they haven't tokenized it. But tokenization allows you to tokenize culture and brand value and stuff like that. And it becomes a tangible on the balance sheet, not an intangible. So I've had this thesis for a while, and this is what meme coins are, is the ability to create community money and incentive systems around a commonality of purpose. So we're seeing like DeSci is some of that. We're seeing like things like Forest, which is now a charitable thing about regenerating woodlands and forests. It's this, how do we coalesce a group of arts? They're like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, that's where we're going.
With the, obviously, meme coin space, I think it's just it's kind of NFTs without the pitches for me, like this time around. But do you think it's also what we were saying about, like, I suppose, socio-economic state of Middle Britain, like where we're from, like the average man on the street? Do you think it's turned into a perceived better casino for, I don't know, 20 quid bet? You're going to put it on a 5-fold accumulator, or are you going to take it for a spin on Pumped Up Fun? Or
I was back in the UK. The UK is really weird. I was back in the UK 2 months ago, and like none of my friends are involved in this. Nobody is. They are really driven by your house, what car you drive, and they might do a bit of going down to the bookies to make money. So I've not really seen Middle England even get this. They're like too fucking cynical to believe in it. Well, and Europeans are the same. But when you go to the US and Asia, where they believe in upside, they believe in a future, they haven't had a world war in the same way that we had, that kind of crushed everybody's incentivization plus AI means proliferation at speed. So I think most of the AI stuff is crap right now, but what it's giving you is a signal in all of that noise that by the time we talk again in 4 years' time, it'll be like, okay, this is really happening. By 8 years' time, we've got no chance.
Yeah.
Don't forget, the closer you get to AGI, what point is there to invest in markets? Now, the good thing is that AI is at least going to use this technology for payments. You need to pay for compute, and we need to pay for electricity. So there is a reason why, and maybe profit. So if they use these rails, which is everybody's core thesis now, we should be able to just hold our tokens and they'll go up in value. But the trading we do, there's no chance we can compete with an AGI. I mean, it's 0.0 chance. So basically, we kind of get the value of the blockchains going up in line with GDP growth, which can also get crazy because of all of these new humans, which is the AI and the robots, creating growth. So it's going to be a crazy time. People don't understand how 3 times as much money as they were in London. I ended up selling a 3-bedroom, like penthouse flat in Bayswater again, near Hyde Park, and bought a 5-bedroom house on 10 acres of land in a national park 10 minutes from the beach in Spain. Right,
Someone
okay,
doesn't have.
that was a big arbitrage. And life was better and cost nothing. When I went out for dinner, nothing costs anything. And it's like, wow.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we've got a little bit of a cheat code at times, but
Yeah, but I go back to England and see my mates who aren't. It's like it's all the fucking house and the car and the holiday. That's it. Their entire lives is the house, the car, the holiday.
yeah, nothing changes, does it? Like, you come back and it's NPC saying the
It
same
really
sentence.
is NPC. It really is, and it's sad. It's lost its competitive edge. The people just don't feel like they deserve success. It's really weird.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like where you're from, but where I'm from in the UK, it's like this crabs in a bucket mentality. If like someone's getting out, they'll do everything they can from through spite to kind of like drag you back down. And it just feels like it's nobody's like wanting people to succeed. And then I suppose when you move further afield and you kind of get into a melting pot of cultures and everyone's like doing their own thing, and the introductions that you get made to like this guy's building an AI project, this guy's like building this new crypto project, blah blah blah. It's just like
Downs. I'm not going to do stupid shit. I'm not going to be 100% in meme coins at the end of the cycle. That whole "don't fuck this up" thesis. Just be sensible. Everyone will be fine. And if it does have a massive blow off cycle, sure, you can take some more off. But I just don't think trade the cycle.
like just one final one. Because there is such a high amount of new coins that are coming onto the market, so much kind of emerging tech that hasn't really been battle tested, hasn't been through like prior cycles. Is there any merit in the whole holding through multiple cycles? Is what assets would you put in that category that you'd feel comfortable doing that with? Because for me, there's probably three: Bitcoin, Solana, and ETH. That's about it.
Correct. Correct. And if you're really just going to reduce risk and hold, just Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Or ETH plus staking yield.
Yeah.
But don't fuck around with this other stuff. Your chosen token, this is going to be the one.